I speak in support of the motion.
姚柏良議員。
Mr. Yu Pak Leung. Thank you, Madam Deputy. Well, in the celebration of the 25th anniversary of establishment of the Hong Kong SAR presidency, visited Hong Kong on the 1st of July to attend the inauguration ceremony of the new term of government and also delivered opening speech, which is important. It provides clear guidelines to Hong Kong's development. It also gives inspiration to the tourism industry. According to presidency, Hong Kong cannot withstand chaos, and it cannot afford to become chaotic. Now, in the times of black hat violence and riots, Hong Kong's image was heavily tarnished. We're entering from a phase of disarray to good governance, and then a new phase of becoming more prosperous. This will help salvage Hong Kong's image so that we maintain our status as a city of hospitality. Presidency also mentions that we have mainland as a hinterland and we're connected to the rest of the world, and this is our distinct status and advantage, and we need to bolster our status as an international financial shipping trading center, and we need to keep our business environment open, as well as building ourselves as an international center for cultural exchange. Now, tourism is a soft power in terms of exchange. There is huge development potential. The newly established Bureau for Sports, Culture and Tourism will give new impetus in order to attract inbound tourists and to promote Hong Kong outwards, so that we can develop Hong Kong into an international or East-West center for international cultural exchange. And against this backdrop, we'll be able to tell Hong Kong's story well and our country's story well, and to bring new development opportunities for the tourism sector. Now, presidency came to Hong Kong via Fuxing train, and that shows the development of our country and the dual circulation strategy. It also shows the importance attached by the central authorities to Hong Kong. We need to proceed to Belt and Road cooperation and be incorporated into the national development plan, so that we can be a real hub to the country and embrace more development opportunities. Tourism is one traditional economic pillar. The government should ditch the idea of small development and big market. Through the newly set up Bureau, the government should be more proactive and formulate the blueprint for the development of tourism industry in Hong Kong, and strengthen the integration of art, sports and culture and tourism, so that we can grasp the opportunities in Greater Bay Area and bring our tourism industry to high-end development. The real KPIs for the government is to attach importance to people's aspirations. At the moment, Hong Kong people are keenly looking forward to quarantine-free travel with the mainland and with the rest of the world. It's been troubling Hong Kong for more than 2 years, as it is difficult to return to the mainland, and the tourism industry has frozen for 3 years. The government should put forward a roadmap for resuming quarantine-free travel as quickly as possible, including the end to the flight suspension mechanism and the 4+3 quarantine proposal that are put forward. I hope that something will be done so that we no longer have to wait after waiting for 2 years, and that we can reopen the boundary again, so that the government is truly heeding people's needs, so that we can all create a new chapter together. I so submit. Mr. Roch Chen. Madam Deputy, I thank you for moving this adjournment motion. Presidency delivered an important speech on the 1st of July, and in his opening remarks, One Country, Two Systems has achieved great success and won recognition throughout the world, and it is a fundamental system, which is a good policy, and there is no reason for us to change. Presidency provides confidence in terms of this constitutional regime, and we're now sure about the future of one country, two systems. We are now sure that one country, two systems is a long-term national policy. It offers a lot of advantages. We know that one country, two systems is unprecedented, and Hong Kong is unique in this sense. And from empirical data, from facts, we've proven one country, two systems to be successful. Everybody in Hong Kong, regardless of their sector, regardless of their position, must also fulfill their responsibility to uphold one country, two systems, and to implement faithfully and fully one country, two systems. Presidency said that we must go by the four musts to make sure one country, two systems will not change or vacillate and will not be distorted. One country, two systems must be faithfully implemented. Hong Kong people must not only have eyes on two systems, they must rather consider the fundamental principle, and that is one country. In the past, the incidents in Hong Kong happened basically due to a lack of understanding of one country, two systems. This led to a departure from how one country, two systems should have been implemented. I think looking forward, we should improve education as well as promotion publicity. We can have activities in the community such as exchange tours and other visits to enhance young people's understanding of the country and instill in them a sense of belonging to the country. Only when we set a good foundation on one country can we give play to two systems in this principle. According to the presidency, we must also maintain Hong Kong's distinctive status advantages, such as a common law system, so that with the support of the mainland, we can be connected with the world market and bolster our status as an international financial and shipping center. Presidency fully understands Hong Kong's distinctive advantages. In other words, Hong Kong must be fully integrated into the country's development plan, and we must maintain Hong Kong's distinctive advantages. Under one country, two systems principle, Hong Kong is closely connected with the rest of the world. We are highly internationalized, and we are a metropolis. This is the distinctive status of Hong Kong compared to other mainland cities. This is the unique advantage that Hong Kong enjoys. Hong Kong must not become just another city in the mainland. On the contrary, we must preserve our status as an international financial center, and we should also develop other centers such as the East-West Center for International Cultural Exchange, the International Aviation Center, etc. We should be able to attract foreign capital and talents, and we must grasp the opportunities brought about by the country's development and be the connector. Of course, we face competition from other cities in the mainland, but one country, two systems is, after all, the unique advantage that Hong Kong enjoys that other competitors do not have. So as long as we embrace one country, two systems, we'll be able to grasp opportunities, and then we'll be able to grasp more opportunities. I so submit.
Mr. Chen Kim-po, Madam Deputy, I'd like to thank you for proposing this adjournment motion, which allows us to contemplate Presidency's speech. He spoke at length, one country, two systems, and I'd like to share my personal views. Presidency indicated that one country, two systems has been tested repeatedly in practice. It serves the fundamental interests of Hong Kong, Macau, as well as the whole nation. It gained wide support from the 1.4 billion plus Chinese people. It is widely accepted by the international community. There's no reason to change such a good policy, and we must adhere to it in the long run. Presidency also pointed out the need to uphold national interest and security, and Hong Kong and Macau can retain the previous capitalist systems unchanged for a long time and enjoy a high degree of autonomy. From the perspective of the nation, one country, two systems is well recognized internationally. That's why there's no need to change this policy. It's not about how many years it would continue. It must remain unchanged for the long run. And we must maintain the national development interests and security. Since the Hong Kong National Security Law was enacted, the pro-independence powers were dissolved, and one country, two systems is in the long-term interest of the civilization and nation. This is certainly positive news for Hong Kong. So the priority for Hong Kong is to uphold one country, that is to curb interference from foreign forces. We must also do our own job and maintain Hong Kong's unique status and strengths. By exercising the strengths under one country, two systems, we can reinforce our strength as an international financial hub. We can be a window between the nation and the world, and that is our biggest contribution. Presidency reminded us to exercise our own role properly. Only by fully implementing one country, two systems, Hong Kong can be guaranteed a bright future. In the last 10 years, there was a lot of chaos at LegCo. Certain people prioritized politics over livelihood issues, and as such, the government could not tackle a number of long-standing issues. Hong Kong's business environment and competitiveness both declined. The new chief executive would tackle issues such as elderly care, youth education. He will look to kickstart our economy. It's all about improving our business environment by improving our financial regulations. Regulation and business environment are equally important. Some regulators might feel that heavy-handed regulation would ensure the integrity of our financial system, but the result is that we would lose out to our competitors. We should speed up the mutual access of financial products. We must strengthen Hong Kong as an offshore renminbi hub. And on behalf of the majority of the public, I thank President Xi for his care and attention on Hong Kong. Since reunification, Hong Kong has created a lot of troubles for the nation, but the nation has stood by us thick and thin. The nation has tendered full support, and that led to great support from the people. Mr. John Lee will provide sound leadership, and LegCo will complement the government's policy making, and that way we can fulfill Presidency's expectations. Mr. Vincent Chang. Madam Deputy, I'd like to thank you for moving this adjournment motion, which allows us to more readily understand and contemplate President Xi's important speech and directives on the 1st of July. And the motion is on the implementation of the address made by President Xi on the 1st of July for opening a new chapter of good governance. In the last 25 years, we have been through a lot, including Occupy Central and Black Lives Violence, with the enactment of Hong Kong national security and patriots administering Hong Kong, and the improved electoral system. We are going from chaos to order and from governance to prosperity. This key speech by President Xi showed his care for Hong Kong, including our youth, the grassroots, our elderly, and he has a lot of hopes for Hong Kong. And he provided guidance on our future development and how one country, two systems can be sustained. On one country, two systems, a lot of people outside were still smearing us. They said one country, two systems has changed. And that, well, the truth is that this is a promise that would not be broken. President Xi's words were reassuring. One country, two systems saw success, and like President Xi said, there's no reason to change this system, and we must adhere to it in the long run. There is no expiration of the system, and implementing one country, two systems. The more we can uphold the principle, the stronger the system would be. President Xi offered 4 musts and 4 expectations. These are very important, and this is something we must reflect upon. The 4 expectations are about enhancing governance, creating new development drivers, tackling livelihood issues, and how we can uphold peace and prosperity. Hong Kong's main livelihood issues include housing and poverty. Both lawmakers and the public are anxious, and the Cs announced the setting up of 4 working groups to tackle intergenerational poverty, housing, etc. I have high hopes, and I believe our collective efforts are needed. President Xi said one of people's expectations is to live better, enjoy more work opportunities, better education for children, and better care for the elderly, and these reflect the wishes of the people. He said the fruits of our economy should be enjoyed by everyone in a fair manner. That's why we must provide extra help for our grassroots. With the new term of government in office, I hope the CE officials and lawmakers can work together to tackle the housing shortage in Hong Kong. Waiting time for public housing is now at 6.1 years, the highest in 23 years. The CE hope that the waiting time would not be further extended. So hopefully the policy of limiting waiting time to under 3 years is reinstated. Apart from speeding up public housing development, well, in terms of transitional housing, more should be done as well. That way, more grassroots residents can bid farewell to inappropriate housing, and we should do something about the subdivided units as well. We ran a campaign to bid farewell to subdivided units. Hopefully, we can allow these SU tenants to find more appropriate housing. For young people, there's a lot of concern for our young people. Our young people have a lot of aspirations, and in the question answer session this morning, the chief executive talked about their great sporting achievements, and Hong Kong is also a cultural center where East meets West. So these are platforms to allow our young people to know more about the world. So I hope the relevant bureaus, including the CSTB and HYAB, would offer more opportunities for our youth. So in the coming years, we should work harder together. Your time is up. Dr. Stephen Wong. Madam Deputy, President Xi delivered a key address. He talked about 4 musts and 4 expectations, and his speech was really inspiring. I engage in policy research, and the idea is to resolve people's issues and identify opportunities. These 4 musts and 4 expectations provided a greater platform for policy research, and these expectations demand greater contributions from the ecosystem, and these include greater visions and blueprint, and at policy bureaus there must be research in respective fields, and these also include NGO and professional research institutions. President Xi's first expectation is for the SAR government to embrace an international and greater perspective for the interests of Hong Kong. That is why there must be a high-level research arm to look at the overall strategy in planning for our long-term development. For that to happen, the internal research units of the government should work with their counterparts on the mainland, such as the Central Research Unit, the research arm of the State Council, and the relevant arms under the Liaison Office and HKMAO. Presidency also talked about the national strategy, such as GBA developments, in order to reinforce the 8 roles of Hong Kong under the 14th Five-Year Plan. We must coordinate research between different bureaus, and there must be deeper collaboration with their counterparts on the mainland, such as the Ministry of Science and Technology, the NDRC's International Exchange and Research Center, and we should work with the Guangdong Provincial Government, as well as the Research Office of Shenzhen Municipal Government, and think tanks should work more closely with think tanks on the mainland, and there could be greater collaboration with think tanks along the Belt and Road countries, and we can probably tell the China story. Presidency also talked about the need to tackle difficulties or embrace challenges. For years, he has offered directions for think tanks, and he pointed out the importance of such think tanks. Presidency also talked about the need for harmony and inclusion, and positive research on ecosystems can incorporate the views of different parties, and the result is a better society for everyone. Finally, I hope we can all stand united to build a positive ecosystem for research, and we must bear in mind the 4 musts and 4 expectations of presidency. We should understand all the deep-seated issues for the benefit of the people. Thank you.
議員
Mr. Stanley Lee. Madam Deputy, first of all, I thank you for moving this motion concerning the long-lasting success of one country, 2 systems. I have a few remarks. Presidency has attended the inauguration of the 6th term of the Hong Kong SAR government, as well as the reunification ceremony of Hong Kong with the country. He made an important speech and made important directives on the implementation of one country, 2 systems. It has been 25 years since the reunification of Hong Kong with the country. Hong Kong people and people in the nation have been through a thick and thin together. Only with a strong root can a tree prosper. Only with the country's support can we achieve success. Presidency also made 4 expectations on our future developments, including improving governance, enhancing impetus for development, addressing people's concerns, and work together to safeguard harmony and stability. These are very strong words, and it shows that the presidency has a very precise understanding of Hong Kong's issue. I share the same feelings, and we should all work together to achieve harmony and address people's concerns. Those enjoying benefits and joy of all people should also share their burdens and concerns. Madam Deputy, we are facing housing issues. Young people are facing difficulties, and also there are elderly care problems, as well as problem with the economy. The new term of the government should work closely with all stakeholders in society to be decisive and pragmatic in terms of overcoming difficulties to respond to people's aspirations. Only then can we live up to presidency's earnest expectations. Now, 25 years after the reunification with the joint efforts of everyone in Hong Kong, we have achieved transition from disarray into governance. Now we are moving from good governance to prosperity. It shows the strong vitality of the one country, two systems principle. Presidency stressed that the more robust the principle is, the more able we are to demonstrate the strength of two systems. Let's safeguard the stability and prosperity in Hong Kong together, and let's safeguard the country's interests together. I so submit. Mr. Chen Yong. Thank you, Madam Deputy. I would like to speak on how we can implement the 4 musts and 4 expectations mentioned by President Xi so that we can achieve greatness together and contribute to Hong Kong and the country. Now, we are all encouraged by the visit of President Xi amidst the instability in the world. The economy is fluctuating, and we are still under the epidemic. Still, President Xi visited us personally. It is really a boost to our confidence. And also, he analyzed Hong Kong's situation precisely and laid a roadmap for Hong Kong. His speech can really unify stakeholders in Hong Kong, and under the leadership of Mr. John Lee, we can open a new chapter for Hong Kong. Now, this morning, I would like to ask the CE on how we can continue to create a strong impetus for growth for Hong Kong. That is, the nation gives full support to Hong Kong to actively dovetail with the 14th five-year plan, especially the GBA development plan. With the staunch support of the government and the leadership of Mr. John Lee and his team, we will definitely come through and resume cross-boundary travel with the mainland. So I hope that all Legislative Council members can assist and urge the government to implement the result-oriented approach and get the results. And also, we hope that the GBA Development Office role can be enhanced. The DBA or the DAB has been urging that offices be set up in the GBA cities so that we can give better support to the more than 500,000 Hong Kong people in the GBA and the enterprises. According to the DAB's research, there are hundreds of thousands of Hong Kong people's children in the mainland, in the GBA areas. And also, like Mr. John Lee said, we should help young people fulfill their dreams in the GBA. On the 1st of July, in President Xi's speech, he came to Hong Kong via the high-speed rail. He said his heart and the state leaders' hearts are beating in unison with Hong Kong people. This is really heartwarming for us. In terms of addressing people's concerns and difficulties in daily life, he really touched the hearts of people in Hong Kong, especially the middle class. He said, and I think all Legislative Council members share his feeling, that the greatest aspiration of the public is to live bigger, live better, and to have more opportunities to start business, a better education for the children, and to have better care for people in their twilight years. So these are good goals for us to strive for. I think in the next 5 years, the governments, the leaders in the government as well as in the community should strive for this. And President Xi also quoted, the speech of President Xi and also the speech of Mr. John Lee should be closely studied by every civil servant. There should be key performance indicators. If we can achieve something every day, and in 100 days we can achieve greatness. Now, President Xi said that if we remain resolute, if we can address an issue every day, then in the long run, we can definitely improve the sense of happiness and fulfillment among people. Thank you. Mr. Gary Chen. Madam Deputy, President Xi visited Hong Kong in person to attend the 25th reunification ceremony and the inauguration of the sixth term of the government. Concerning the achievements achieved by Hong Kong after reunification, he gave a recognition and he clarified that the one country, two systems principle is a national policy, and it has been repeatedly tested and proven to be conforming to the interests of Hong Kong and the country, and we should maintain and adhere to the principle without changing it. His speech has cleared all the misunderstanding concerning our future, and also enhance the confidence of stakeholders in Hong Kong concerning our future. It is the best arrangement to ensure long-term stability. In the past 25 years, with the staunch support of the country, Hong Kong can overcome challenges and difficulties and return to the right track of stability and development while maintaining our characteristic and edges and maintaining our status as an international metropolis and financial center. The past 25 years prove that one country, two systems is feasible, it works, and it is widely supported. Like President Xi said, it is a good policy. President Xi said that to adhere to the principle, there are four musts. First, we must precisely and faithfully implement the principle of one country, two systems, and it embodies a complete system. Its top priority is to safeguard national sovereignty, security, and development interests. Well, several years ago, there was some vacillation, and now once again we are fully and faithfully implementing the principle. That is because of the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong. The second must is that we must uphold the central government's overall jurisdiction while securing the SAR's high degree of autonomy. The one country, two systems principle embodies a lot of wisdom. However, for a long period of time, there are people who interpret the principle at face value and misinterpret it. Two systems must be under one country. The source of high degree of autonomy is the overall jurisdiction of the central government. This overall jurisdiction of the central government and the high degree of autonomy of the government are one and the same. Only when we are able to do that can we achieve good governance. The three musts mentioned by President Xi is that we must implement patriots administering Hong Kong. The fourth must is that we must maintain Hong Kong's distinctive status and advantages. These two musts are very meaningful. The third must is about stability, and then comes the fourth must, that is development. President Xi said that the governing power must rest in the hands of patriots. That is a prerequisite for the long-term stability of Hong Kong. We cannot waver in this. President Xi mentioned some political issues which we have experienced after the reunification. In the past, most principal officials and high officials were patriots, but we didn't implement the principle in full. That's why we have some anti-China and destabilizing factors in the Legislative Council, which hampered the administration of the government. And hence, deep-rooted problems were not resolved. As a result, patriots administering Hong Kong is the solution to these problems, and it is in line with the benefits of the 7 million population. After having stability, we can focus on development. Under the fourth must, President Xi mentioned to maintain. That is, the central government continued to support Hong Kong's distinctive status and advantages. This is reassuring. And also, we have to maintain our original edges. President Xi's address really renew the confidence of us in one country, two systems. Mr. Edward Lau. Thank you, Madam Deputy.
This year marks the 25th anniversary of reunification of Hong Kong with the motherland. President Xi attended the inauguration ceremony of the new term of government and delivered an important speech. And according to President Xi, in the coming 5 years, it will be the turning point for the Hong Kong government to start a new chapter. Be it the government or all sectors of the community, we must all work towards living up to President Xi's expectations so that we can create a new chapter together. President Xi puts forward 4 musts and 4 hopes. His speech entails the future direction of Hong Kong's development, and that the Hong Kong government should listen to the people's needs. And the people's aspiration for a better life is what we're striving for. President Xi reiterates the unique status and advantages of Hong Kong, and that the government should take active yet prudent steps to reforms so as to unleash the huge creativity and development potential of Hong Kong society. In fact, I have always advocated the development of Northern Metropolis in the North District so that a new metropolis can be built in the North District, leveraging on our closeness with the boundary with Shenzhen, so that we can be more actively integrated into the country's development plan. And this is all about unleashing the vibrancy and development potential of Hong Kong. In fact, we have high hopes for the new term of government to resolve livelihood issues. It's time for people to approve of the government, and that means improving people's livelihood and make sure they are better cared for in the twilight years as well. And I think for the new term of government, they should adopt a new thinking and adopt a new speed and bring some fresh air into the government with a new style of government so as to address people's housing and other livelihood issues and meet people's aspirations in the long term. At the moment, there is the problem of uneven distribution of jobs in Hong Kong. Many young people, in order to save commuting costs and rental costs, opt for caged homes or cramped living conditions such as subdivided units in order to get closer to work, because many jobs in the financial sector remain in the core business district, whereas in North District and NT North, Yuen Long, Tuen Mun, etc., we have only very few jobs for a population of over 100,000. Developing the Northern Metropolis is the answer to addressing people's livelihood issues and meeting people's aspirations. Apart from providing new housing units, we can also build Northern Metropolis into an innovation and technology center so that we can build a better connection in terms of the flow of goods, people, and capital. And that in NT North we can create more than 650,000 jobs for young people in the Greater Bay Area to pursue their dreams and a career there. Like President Xi said, Hong Kong will only prosper when its young people thrive, and Hong Kong will only develop when its young people achieve well-rounded development. We need to give young people the opportunities to improve the living conditions of their own as well as their family. Land development takes time because we need to have studies together with infrastructure support, etc. We need all these supporting facilities. I hope the government would streamline procedures as quickly as possible, and a dedicated department should be set up so that we can realize this dream of Northern Metropolis. We need to have good governance, and we will bear in mind the experience in implementing one country, two systems, and the 4 musts put forward by presidency and the 4 expectations, so that will continue to be integrated into the country's development plan, and that we can develop Northern Metropolis in Hong Kong, in the North District, to continue to bring impetus for growth in Hong Kong, and that will be able to embrace another 25 years of excellence in Hong Kong. Dr. Kennedy Wong. It's been 25 years since reunification of Hong Kong with the motherland. Hong Kong remains an ocean-going vessel in the vast ocean, and with the guidance of the motherland, Hong Kong, like the vessel, could sail through all the treacherous water and ups and downs. And on July 1st, President Xi delivered an important speech and put forward the 4 musts and 4 expectations. He emphasizes that we must maintain Hong Kong's distinctive status and advantages. We must continue to create a strong impetus for growth, and we should also dismantle the barriers of vested interest and unleash the huge development potential and creativity of Hong Kong society. Now, Presidency categorically provides guidance. It shows that the central authorities have high hopes for Hong Kong. For Hong Kong to make new and significant contributions to the nation's rejuvenation. In terms of maintaining Hong Kong's distinctive status and advantages, President Xi has provided guidelines. Now, we have many unique advantages in different areas, and these advantages are obvious. We have the most vibrant economic activities comparing to the other mainland cities, and we are well connected with the rest of the world. And in the dual circulation strategy of the country, we can give play to the unique advantages in Hong Kong, and these are the advantages we must grasp and leverage on. We're at the turn of the century. With this new layout, we cannot just shout slogans. The Hong Kong SAR government and all sectors of the community must follow President Xi's words and stay united in pursuing development opportunities and scale new heights. Especially, we must not be left behind. We must be bold enough to promote reforms. It's like nuclear fission, so that we can maximize and unleash in full the development potential of Hong Kong. As far as the commerce and industry sector is concerned, we must grasp the opportunities, and we must support the government in creating a favorable business environment both locally and externally. For example, for RCEP, initiated by our country, this is the largest free trade agreement around the world so far, and the central authorities have indicated their support for Hong Kong to join as well. So we must also work full steam and garner support for joining RCEP. And with other Asia-Pacific countries, recently we have also signed the CTPCC, and our country has also made an application to join this framework. And time is right for Hong Kong to make a petition to the central authorities to join this framework as well. Digital economy is the major locomotive for economic development nowadays. I appeal to the Hong Kong SAR government to step up its efforts in in conducting studies as well as formulating the relevant policies so as to strengthen collaboration with provincial municipal governments so that we can remove bottlenecks in terms of sharing big data so that we can have better connection with mainland cities in terms of business dealings and transactions. We can create a connected platform and pave a good pathway for young people to develop their career in the Greater Bay Area. All these are key to bolstering Hong Kong's status as an international trading center. I believe with President Xi's words and under the leadership of Mr. John Lee, the new chief executive, we'll be able to create the new chapter together. Mr. Louis Long. Mr. President, last week, despite the epidemic situation and the upcoming thunderstorm, President Xi arrived in Hong Kong in person to attend the inauguration ceremony of the new term, the 6th term of government, as well as celebration of the 25th anniversary of establishment of the Hong Kong SAR. He also delivered an important speech. His presence and his speech show the care for Hong Kong by the central authorities, and this is deeply appreciated. President Xi's speech offers a summary of the implementation and inspirations of the one country, two systems in the principle in the past 25 years. He also puts forward the 4 musts and 4 expectations for the new term of government. As far as this government and different sectors of the community are concerned, he has put forward the directions for future development. In fact, President Xi's words offers a boost of confidence in investors, especially when he stresses that we must fully and faithfully implement the principle of one country, two systems. In fact, in recent years, foreign media have repeatedly raised queries about the future of one country, two systems, and President Xi has categorically provided the assurance that central authorities support one country, two systems, and that we must maintain our status as an international financial, trading, shipping center, and we must keep our business environment free, open, regulated, and to maintain the common law and to expand and facilitate exchanges with the world. As pointed out by President Xi, the more robust the one country principle is upheld, the greater the strength of two systems will be unleashed for the development of the Hong Kong SAR. President Xi also refers to his expectation for the government to address people's concerns and difficulties in daily life earnestly. I believe as long as the Hong Kong SAR government continues to provide a favorable business environment, the business sector definitely will continue to provide opportunities for young people to address their career and housing issues. I also hope the new term of government will listen to the needs of different sectors of the community so that we can forge consensus and seek common ground. And that means streamlining approval procedures as quickly as possible to expedite land supply and improve people's housing living conditions and provide more opportunities for young people to acquire their own homes. Hong Kong is our home. Hong Kong is my home. So we should all stay united and contribute and work hard towards maintaining prosperity and stability in Hong Kong to build a better home for all of us. So submit.
Mr. Lam Sun Keung. President, it has been 25 years since reunification. The Typhoon number 3 was hoisted and a storm was forthcoming. But nonetheless, July the 1st was a day to celebrate. It was the day when the Communist Party of China was born. and it was a day that marked a change from many years of humiliation, and it was the day that marked the beginning of strength for the people, and it was a bright new chapter for the Chinese civilization, so it was a day to celebrate. So General Secretary Xi, despite the COVID-19 pandemic and storm, decided to attend the 25th anniversary celebration in Hong Kong and delivered a key speech, and it was done out of the care of the people. Hong Kong indeed needs guidance. President Xi did not disappoint the people of Hong Kong. His words alleviated the concerns of Hong Kong people, and it was a timely reassurance, and he offered 4 pieces of advice and 4 expectations. As a homegrown Hong Konger, I have lived in a society of capitalism. I do understand certain fears from the people over the 50-year promise that Hong Kong will remain in change for 50 years. President Xi pointed out that there's no reason to change one country, 2 systems because it's a good policy and we must adhere to it. As a resident of Hong Kong, I thank Mr. John Lee for offering directions based on President Xi's advice. And I offer my personal views. Legislative Council members are obliged to provide oversight to the government's policy making, so this is a form of check and balances. And in a 2019 version of a Chinese dictionary, complementing refers to collaboration to achieve the goals. The executive and legislature would complement one another. So it's not just about the legislature supporting the executive's policy making. The executive must take in the views of the legislature in a proactive manner. So I expect the new term government to proactively listen to our views so that the executive and legislature can complement one another. As a lawyer, I thank President Xi for his acknowledgement on the judicial system and independent or judicial independence. The common law jurisdiction would remain, and Hong Kong's strengths in the common law system would reinforce Hong Kong's status as an international legal, logistics, and financial hub, and this is conducive to the Belt and Road developments of our nation and is key to the rejuvenation of the Chinese civilization. But with the best efforts of the opposition in recent years, they jeopardize our developments. So exercising our strengths as a common law regime requires more efforts. Governance must be improved, and the colonial principle of active non-supervention should be ditched. Many lawyers have upheld one country, 2 systems and judicial independence, and they helped maintain rule of law. The new term government should implement the legislation passed, such as the Legal Practitioners 1997 Amendment Ordinance. It was yet to be implemented, and the government should help foster more opportunities. Our sector has been left to fend for ourselves. The government should help identify more opportunities for us, but they have been very passive. Thank you. Ms. Doreen Kong. President Xi's speech on July the 1st offered 4 musts and 4 expectations for Hong Kong and offered directions for our development. It shows that President Xi always has people's interests in mind. I have 2 points to share. First, rationalizing the relationship between executive and legislature and promote good governance. President Xi talked about the need to precisely implement one country, two systems, ensure the central government's overall jurisdiction over Hong Kong, and how it underpins a high degree of autonomy of Hong Kong. The basic law establishes the relationship between executive and legislature, but in recent years, the relationship is yet to be rationalized and long-standing conflicts remain. One country, two systems is an epoch-making policy, and only with a positive connection between executive and legislature could the system be properly executed, and this would help create recognition for the government. I hope the new term government can properly consult the people. The current term LegCo has some members from patriotic organizations, and we have representatives from the legal profession, business sector, etc. We, as the classical wisdom shows, discussion or different voices are always helpful. So with the views of different lawmakers, the policy-making process could be more open and transparent, and in turn we can tackle problems. And that would fulfill President Xi's expectations. President Xi placed an emphasis on tackling or answering the calls of the public, and different people in Hong Kong have different views in Hong Kong, and some people do have complaints. So livelihood should be a key priority, and different issues should be tackled. Housing is probably the top issue. The living environment is subpar. Waiting time for public housing is very long, and all these place a burden on the grassroots. The new term government should help coordinate these issues, and on the short run, the amount of public housing should be reinforced so that waiting time could be slashed. On the long run, the government should improve the per capita living space and to make more efficient use of land. The poor population is ever climbing, so the aging or population aging should be tackled. Elderly care should be made a priority. Aging at home should be the priority. Hong Kong has plenty of high rises. However, the laws on building management are outdated. The new term government should coordinate the relevant pieces of legislation to improve building management by providing concrete support to owners, and building management should be better regulated. And due to climate management issues, rodent nuisance is a serious problem for Hong Kong. The new term government should improve the living environment of the people, and they should weed out pests such as rodents, mosquitoes, etc., to make Hong Kong more livable. As President Xi, we should answer the calls of the people. The new term government should consider the interests of the people, embrace change, and be committed in tackling different issues so that we can create happier lives for the people. That would create a new chapter of good governance and contribute to the rejuvenation of the Chinese civilization. Mr. Chairman, President Xi's words were reassuring, and Hong Kong no longer has to worry about the implementation of one country, two systems, and the smearing of the system would stop. He spoke clearly about one country, two systems, upholding the interests and security of the nation is the overriding principle, and under that principle, Hong Kong, one country, two systems can thrive. President Xi mentioned the 4 musts and 4 expectations. These should be the common goals of all of Hong Kong. The 4 musts will clarify Hong Kong's positioning, while the 4 expectations could resolve our problems. So with proper positioning and directions, we must all work together for the benefit of Hong Kong. For the 4 expectations, they include tackling people's needs. Government action is needed. With the new term, government officials address people's needs to travel to the mainland. Professor Lo Chung-Mao negotiated with mainland authorities the quotas for visiting the mainland, and speculative activities were squashed, and I appreciate his efforts. Under COVID-19, borders are yet to reopen. If we are able to facilitate the flow of people across the border, we can overcome many problems. Earlier, the DAB proposed the proper utilization of makeshift hospitals in Hong Kong, such as the one in Kai Tak, so that people who intend to travel to the mainland could be reverse isolated, and the National Health Commission can send representatives to Hong Kong. So those who completed isolation would be taken to the mainland under the designated conveyances, and that would prevent prevent the spread of cases to the mainland and alleviate their healthcare system, and this would help build mutual trust. I know that the government is working to facilitate the travel between both places. In the past, due to border closures, we saw plenty of problems with families and with businesses. That's why the government must answer the calls of the people. President Xi talked about a people-oriented approach, and we should tackle whatever needs or questions people have. So that was an inspiration. We must work together to support the people. Reopening the borders with the mainland and other places come with their challenges, and collective efforts are needed. The government has made a bright start. We hope this proposal of reverse isolation can pick up pace, and we hope we can help those who wish to travel to the mainland. And that way we can meet President Xi's expectations of Hong Kong.
Thank you, President. President, I speak in support of the adjournment debate motion moved by Ms. Starry LEE. That is the Council to now, that is the implementation of the address made by President Xi Jinping on the 1st of July for opening a new chapter of good governance, so that we can convey our suggestions and views to the new term of the government. The 1st of July speech made by President Xi lighted up the path for the developments of Hong Kong. We are entering into the new stage of governance from chaos. President Xi said that to ensure the long-term stability of Hong Kong, we must adhere to the 4 musts, and also there are 4 expectations mentioned by President Xi concerning economic development, people's livelihood, and harmony. These are very specific aspirations for the new term of the government. Presidency said that we must maintain our distinctive status and advantages and rely on the country to connect with the world. This is our unique strength. Hong Kong people should cherish this strength. The Central People's Government also cherish Hong Kong's strength. Presidency urged Hong Kong to improve our presence as an international financial, shipping, and trading center and keep our business environment free, open, and regulated. To give full play to our distinctive status and advantages as a link between the world market and the motherland, we have to be more proactively aligned with the 14th five-year plan so that we are a facilitator for the connection between the country and the world and serve the country better by utilizing our financial services strength. Now we are given our closer proximity with the motherland, we must expedite the development of an offshore RMB center to connect our regulatory system with the mainland. We must enrich our RMB investment products and also conduct a pilot scheme on RMB security, RMB denominated facility securities. And also, as an important city in the GBA, we must play our pivotal role so that we can be a financing center for our GBA cities corporates. And also, there will be a lot of demand in terms of wealth management. So in terms of cash flow, talent flow, information flow, and also the restructuring of resources, there will be ample opportunities for financial services center. We must ride on the strategic opportunities brought about by the dual circulation strategies of the country to serve our function as an financing platform in the GBA so that we can align better with international standards and enhance our position as an international financial center as well as our influence in the international community. Third, we must deepen the connect schemes with the country. Since the second half of the 2021, we have been pressing forward with different connect schemes. This is the most efficient ways to link up mainland and overseas financial markets. Fourthly, we must expedite the development of green finance so that we can foster a new growth point. In terms of financial services and technology, we must focus on fintech and face the world to promote our influence in the international industry. We cannot afford to miss the opportunity. We urge the government to step up its speed in on these fronts. President, Mr. So Chang Wing, or rather Mr. Ma Feng Kwok. President, since the reunification, we have been facing different difficulties, including the 2019 Black Lives violence, where external forces blatantly influenced in our politics and undermine national security. Now, the country had faith in Hong Kong and let us be our own masters and support us to overcome waves after waves of difficulties, and hence the one country, two systems principle is a success. However, there are doubters, and there are people who doubt that whether 2047 will be the end for one country, two systems, and whether Hong Kong will be marginalized and become just an ordinary mainland city. During the Black Lives violence, young people voiced their dissatisfaction. How can we give them a future? Now, in President Xi's important address, he gave answers to all these important questions. Mr. Deng Xiaoping said that after reunification, Hong Kong will not change for 50 years. there are many people who are worried about 2047, and there are people with ulterior motive saying that 2047 would be the end for Hong Kong. Now, President Xi has cleared all the doubts. He said that one country, two one country, two systems principle is a well-tested policy, and it is a good policy which should not be changed. If we adhere to the principle, then we can maintain long-term stability. The more robust one country is, the more vital two systems will become. So during the 25 years after reunification, the country has develop its economy into a moderately wealthy society. But there are people who question whether Hong Kong is losing its shine. President Xi reassured us that Hong Kong enjoys the distinctive status and advantages that it is a connecting point between the mainland and the international world. The nation will continue to allow Hong Kong to play the role as a window and a gateway for the country to the international world, and Hong Kong can definitely contribute to the great rejuvenation of the country. About youth, there are surveys showing that young people are worried about the future. In the past, we didn't do a good enough job in terms of education and publicity, and that's why young people have absorbed biased information and misunderstood the country. President Xi said that the country and also Hong Kong will only prosper when young people thrive. So we have to ensure that young people are keenly aware of the trends in China and the world and help them cultivate a sense of national pride and enhance the awareness as master of the country. President Xi has cleared the air for the development and future of one country, two systems. He reassured our future developments and showed his faith for our young people's future. President Xi gave us the answer. However, the Hong Kong SAR government has taken up the historic responsibility to bring Hong Kong from governance to prosperity and enhance governance, unites people, and also conduct studies, touch people's hearts, create harmony, and work for the people. We have to maintain a diversified and inclusive environment for our young people to thrive. President, I hope that riding on President Xi's speech, everyone in Hong Kong will work together to ensure that the one country, two systems principle does not vacillate, so that the pearl in the Orient can give its unique strength during the rejuvenation of the Chinese people. Thank you. Mr. Edward Leung. Thank you, President. President, as council members, we definitely have the responsibility to explain to the public the important speech made by President Xi. Well, we have conducted a lot of seminars, learning sessions at the district level about President Xi's speech. But it is a first that we discuss the important speech at the council. We only have 5 minutes each. So concerning the 4 musts and 4 expectations, I don't have the time to share my in-depth understanding of them. But other members have given their thoughts on these points. I will focus on young people. After the black-clad violence with the national security law and the improved electoral system, the community has returned to stability. After the storm, young people are now beginning to embrace hope. So President Xi has very in-depth observation on our young people. He ties the prosperity of the country and Hong Kong with young people's future. So we have to. So it shows his view on the importance of young people's future. Young people do not understand the country well enough. That's why they easily fell prey to smearing of the country and misunderstood the nation. We have the responsibility to work with the governments to improve the education system, to improve national education on young people. Like the President said, we have to ensure that the young people share a sense of national pride and know that they are the masters of their country. Concerning the difficulties they face in studies, employment, entrepreneurship, and housing, young people may feel that they have been abandoned by society. This powder keg may be ignited by people with ulterior motive. So we have to address the problem at the root, seizing the opportunity where society is returning to stability and the Legislative Council is once again sensible. We have to review our national education policy. Now, currently, the subject is too scattered. In the past, we had a lot of the national education efforts of the government was not consistent. Some young people told me that their perception of Shenzhen is the shopping center in Luowu back in the 90s. So I hope that the constructive force in this council can help our young people to comprehensively understand the developments of the nation. So President Xi's important speech, especially the importance he attaches to young people, should be a guiding thought for the new term government so that we can help the young people. Thank you.
Members, I'm going to allow 3 more members to speak, and then I'm going to suspend the meeting at 6:30. Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I thank Ms. Starry LEE for moving the adjournment motion on the implementation of the address made by President Xi Jinping on 1st of July for opening a new chapter of good governance. President Xi's July 1st speech provides guidance on Hong Kong's development. Because of our historical background as a world-class city, we have a multifarious cultural hub, and in light of the rapid changes in the global landscape, of course, it is inevitable that we have conflicts, and where there are conflicts, there are chaos. And once the conflicts are addressed, we'll be able to move from chaos to order and then to prosperity. President Xi points out the roots of the problem. Instead of shunning the problem, we should stay united in addressing differences. One country and 2 systems are not mutually exclusive. In order to give play to two systems, we need to first of all uphold one country. We need to respect the defining feature of socialism with Chinese characteristics and uphold the country's fundamental system. We need to ensure that the one country, 2 systems principle can be upheld, and only by doing so will we be able to maintain stability and prosperity in Hong Kong and help our country in its development into a modernized socialist country and to realize the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. We need to ensure that we should uphold the central government's overall jurisdiction while securing the SAR's high degree of autonomy. Again, the central government's overall jurisdiction and the high degree of autonomy of the Hong Kong SAR are not mutually exclusive. In fact, the country's overall jurisdiction over Hong Kong is the root of high degree of autonomy. Only when there is overall jurisdiction by the central government on Hong Kong Do we have an improved electoral system and what we have now? We're supported by the mainland and we are open to the rest of the world. And again, these two are not mutually exclusive. Our country supports Hong Kong in maintaining its distinctive status and advantages, and we must continue to preserve our status as an international financial shipping and trading center, and we should continue to keep our business environment free, open, and regulated in order to go hand in hand with the country's development. The government and the market are not mutually exclusive. As long as we have effective governance and an efficient market, we can combine the two forces to scale new heights. However, what is of importance is for the government to be proactive and be efficient and effective. We can have a pragmatic government whilst making sure that people can lead a better life and receive better care in their twilight years. These are not mutually exclusive. According to the presidency, we must not lie flat. We must all work hard to strive for a better life. The legislature and the executive are not mutually exclusive. According to the presidency, we have an executive-led system. We have checks and balances, but we're not confrontational against each other. We should work together towards enhancing the efficiency of governance. Mr. John Lee is the incumbent chief executive, and this morning he told us about we and us. And this is exactly in line with presidency's speech, and that we should all stay united and create a new chapter together. I so submit. Ms. Judy Chan. Thank you, Mr. President. I thank Ms. Starry LEE for moving an adjournment motion on the implementation of the address made by President Xi Jinping on 1st of July for opening a new chapter of good governance. On the 25th anniversary of establishment of the Hong Kong SAR, President Xi arrived in Hong Kong in person and delivered an important speech in the celebration in the ceremony, and every word counts. He acknowledges Hong Kong's contribution to the country's development, and he shows the central authorities' care for Hong Kong. Especially in recent years, Hong Kong has been facing a number of daunting challenges. I believe every citizen in Hong Kong feel encouraged by President Xi's remarks. President Xi made it clear that important guiding principles are laid out for the SAR government, and that as long as we continue to embrace and uphold one country, two systems, and grasp the four musts under the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong, whilst embracing the four expectations, we'll be able to create a better future. After the incumbent CE, Mr. John Lee, assumed office, we all see how positive and energetic this new term of government is. We all feel that this is a capable government. In order to allow more decent housing for our people, to improve or to have better education for our children, and for people to receive better care in their twilight years. I believe these are all common aspirations of people in Hong Kong, and these are all goals for the new term of government to achieve. The SAR government has just set up 4 working groups to tackle livelihood issues close to the heart of everybody in Hong Kong. And I believe that we all have expectations on this government in fulfilling these key KPIs. And in the first Q&A session in this council, the chief executive indicated that every month there will be an exchange session at the antechamber of the Legislative Council between government officials and legislators. And this is one way of showing the government's attaching importance to the people's views. Presidency emphasizes that we must maintain social harmony and stability. These are warming remarks that, which are reassuring. There are ample development opportunities in Hong Kong, and that is why we must maintain social harmony. And with social harmony, we'll be able to take forward development and then improve people's livelihood. At the same time, we must also show more care to our young people because they are the future of Hong Kong. That means they must be better educated in terms of a sense of belonging to the country so that they can be instilled with positive values and get on the right track for the better future of Hong Kong. I hope that the new term of government can bring in some fresh air and a new style of governance to create a new chapter. As we create a new chapter in Hong Kong from disarray to good governance and then to prosperity, it's also good time for us to all work hard together. As patriots, we stay united and share a common goal. The government should also strive to create unity in the community so that we all roll up our sleeves and do some real work together and do more for Hong Kong and for our country so that we can make more significant contributions, so that we can respond to the central authorities' care and love and people's expectation by doing more. Dr. Hon Starry LEE. Thank you, Mr. President, and I thank Ms. Starry LEE for moving this motion. On July 1st, Presidency delivered an important speech, and he put forward one important concept, that is a capable government with an efficient market, or serving an efficient market. And it seems that this has sparked a discussion in the community. For a while, we've always heard about concepts such as small government and big market, but we need to understand the philosophy behind this concept. The so-called capable government doesn't mean that the government must intervene market operation. On the other hand, or on the contrary, we'll continue to rely on a market environment and market forces in running the government. Second, to have a better understanding of this concept, we need to first understand the new global economic theories and the global landscape. For a long time, Hong Kong's status as an international financial center had been maintained, and that we should give play to market forces with minimum intervention from the government. But nowadays, we have emerging industries such as innovation technology, and competition is keen. And we now have a new playing field with some distinct characteristics, such as long investment period, a low rate of return, and a long period of recovering costs, etc. And there is all the more reason for the government to play a more leading role. And by saying that, I don't mean intervention, but rather there should be policy support. In the 1980s, the chip manufacturing industry was dominated by Japan, and in the United States, in order to get a bigger market share, they created some hubs, and that R&D institutions, universities, industrial organizations, and other enterprises all joined this hub so as to lower information costs at two levels. At the first level, for example, if an enterprise is in need of certain product, then the R&D company or the university would be able to get information and vice versa, and that lowers the cost. At the second level, an enterprise can engage an R&D company or university to conduct research under the market principle. Two private companies may not have trust for each other, and they may not work so smoothly. But with this platform set up by the government, this kind of cooperation is possible. Now, in terms of market operation, each operation entails information costs. So nowadays it's about lowering market costs and enhancing market efficiency with the government's participation. And in any case, we must make sure that such guidance from the government will not in any way contravene market principles. For example, the United States in the last term of administration would like to attract more operations back to the market. But because of the high cost, because of a disconnect in the supply chain or inadequate technology or skills available, the government provided some guiding support, but the operations did not come back to the United States because of the prerequisites not being fulfilled. And that is why we need the government's participation to lower information costs, to enhance market efficiency. We need to understand this principle instead of still bickering on whether we should have a small government, a big market, or vice versa. The meeting is suspended until 9 a.m. tomorrow.